Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides, and I'm here in Clearwater, Florida at Walker Ford, and I have a special treat for all of you. I have this Orange Fury Metallic 2018 Mustang GT. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the Mustang scene lately, but Ford has gone back to the drawing board. They've done their homework, and they've come out with this amazing animal here, and this is what's going to be featured for you today. And before I start, I want to definitely give a big thank you to Walker Ford for hosting Raiti's Rides today and allowing us to bring this vehicle to you guys at home. So let me go ahead and give you a little bit of a history lesson. The Mustang came onto the scene back in 1964. Technically, Mustang experts would say 1964 and a half. The reason why is because Ford unveiled the car at the World's Fair in New York, right in the middle of 1964. From there, the scene was set for this amazing vehicle to change not only the auto industry, but people's lives that drove it. From 1964 all the way through to the 1970s, Ford put their performance stamp on the muscle car era. They came out with some amazing models. Some of my personal favorites are that 1969, 1970 Boss 429. It's one of those things where you drive a Mustang, you're not just driving a car. Go get a Ford Fusion. They're great cars, but if you want to drive something that's more than just driving a car, where you're driving a piece of American history, that's what the Ford Mustang is all about. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about those mid-1970s going into the early 80s because the Mustang was not really a Mustang anymore. When it became the Mustang II in 1974, that's where things went wrong. But we're going to forget about that because in the 1980s, Ford came out with what's known as the Fox Body Mustang. That Fox Body Mustang, if you saw one today, may not look like much, but guess what? It put the Mustang back on the high performance map, and since then the ball has just been rolling and rolling and rolling, and now this is what we have. So let's go ahead and take a look at the front end of this Mustang, because this is where you're going to start to see some of those big improvements. Because if you have a 2015 to 2017 Mustang GT, you're going to notice that there's a reason to come get a 2018. So let's check it out. If you look at the front of the 2018 Mustang, you're going to notice some changes. Now, one thing that I really love about Ford compared to Chevrolet or Dodge is that I think that they're doing the whole retro scene the best, but what makes them the best is that not only are they doing the retro, but if you notice on the front here, they're carrying some changes into the 21st century. If you want a total retro, looks like the old days type of car, I think the Dodge Challenger is the one that does that the best. But when it comes to where do we go from here? Because that's the thing is, you guys love these Mustangs, they're amazing cars, but you want to see some changes. But you also have to balance the past. And if you saw my review of the Corvette Grand Sport, that's something I was talking about. These engineers, I do not envy them at all. They have the responsibility of creating new technology and new style, but also by keeping the original Mustang owners very happy. So let's go ahead and focus at the front of this 2018 Mustang. One thing right off the bat that I love about this car is this grille. If you know anything about Mustangs from the past, this grille harks back to the 1960s and that 1970 Mustang. The way it's shaped, the opening. One thing that's specific for 2018 I like the way they're doing this divider here on both sides. It really makes the nose look more aggressive. And this really cool hexagonal grille is not only here up at the front with the Mustang, but also on the bottom here as well. And to wrap off the front end of the car, we have this really nice thick black spoiler. Now this spoiler is going to stop air from going underneath the car and ram it right into the radiator, because remember, this GT has a 5-liter V8 for 2018. That means 460 horsepower. So we're going to get underneath that hood and you're going to hear this beast fire up. It's a sick engine. Let's go ahead and take a look at the headlights here. The headlights this year for 2018 are now LED. In the past, they were HID, those high intensity discharge bulbs. These are LEDs. Guess what? They use 30% less electricity and they're actually lighter. And that's what performance is all about. It's about getting the performance out of the engine, but also making the car lighter as well. Let's pan to the hood here. One thing I want to point out that I like to see on a lot of high performance car are functional things. These are functional heat extractors. What these do is as the cold air comes in through the front, hot air is going to exit out of these two vents on the hood. And this body style, this is screaming 1971 Mustang to me. And that's what I like. It looks 21st century, but it has that flavor of the past. I don't know if anybody knows this at home. Lee Iacocca is the guy who came up with the first Mustang. If you don't know who he actually is the guy that eventually went to go work for Dodge and came out with the first ever minivan and changed the industry through that. He also worked with Carroll Shelby and the Dodge Viper. But let's get back to this Mustang. New for 2018 is this orange Fury metallic paint. And in the sun here, it has this beautiful metallic finish. It's nice and bright, but it's not too obnoxious. I kind of like it. It's not orange like a Crayola orange crayon, but it's almost like a tangerine sort of. I really love what they did with this color palette. Let's focus down here. This GT has what's called the Performance Pack. What you're gonna get with the Performance Pack are these beautiful 19-inch gloss black wheels. If you could see past the wheel, sneaking back there, new for 2018, 6-piston Brembo calipers. And that's what you want to see, guys. If you're going to go out and buy a performance car, you want to see brands like Brembo when you look at the brakes. When you look at the seats inside, you want to see Recaro. You want to see these different brands because that means that Ford or whatever company you're looking at is serious about their performance. One last thing I want to show you is Michelin. These Michelin tires are the new Pilot Sport 4S's. What I love about these tires, they're gonna give you that grip. You wanna go do that track day, they're gonna give you the grip. You wanna go do the autocross, you're gonna be able to do well. But these tires are also great for everyday driving. And that's what I love about this car, is you're driving a high performance piece of American history every single day. Let's take a look down the side. Right here, I remember it. You know, I grew up 1994, graduated from high school. It was the 5-liter Mustangs, those Fox body 5-liter Mustangs that put the performance back there. With this car, you're getting that piece of history. You're getting the 5.0 back. And like I said, for 2018, 460 horsepower. Guess what? If you go back to 1993, 1991, any of those time periods with the Fox body, you maybe were lucky to get 230 horsepower. Now we're getting 460 horsepower stock. Let's continue down the side. I'm really loving what they're doing with the body lines. I really like the mirror. It's a good size. It's going to allow you to see what's behind you, but it also is very sporty, high performance. Work your way down the side here. This part right here, this fender. Now, you may look at a car and you say, wow, that car's nice, that car's pretty. When you look at this Mustang, this fender right here is so important. It cleans up the whole look of the older Mustangs. When you go to like a 2006, let's say, when Ford came back on the scene with the retro style, they were a little boxy. What I love about this one is that it cleans up the look. They're really drop dead sexy looking. And this fender here, this harks back to the 1960s. So you're getting that 21st century styling at the front with those 1960s styling at the rear. Let's go ahead and make our way to the back. All right, guys, check it out. My two favorite parts of this car is definitely got to be the front, and it's definitely got to be the back. On the back of this car, okay, hit the button. All right, guys, we're at the tail end of this Mustang GT, and you know, the two favorite parts of this car for me has definitely got to be the front and definitely this rear. If you look at the back of this Mustang GT, you'll see that right off the bat, one thing that they changed is they took a little bit of a bevel and they put these wonderful lines in here in this black fascia. This is really giving it some extra style. I like where Ford is going. It's almost like they're going in a BMW direction, I want to say. And what I mean by that is, I mean it as a compliment that, you know, we know BMW as high class and luxurious. It's fit and finishes like that I think will surprise a lot of people who have not been in a Mustang for a very long time. But I'm definitely liking that look. I love. It's almost like they robbed these from the Shelby GT350. These huge 4 exhaust tips. Now, in a little bit, we're gonna fire this animal up and you're gonna be able to hear these, but you can see that they just, when you see 4 exhaust tips, I don't know, it just gives it such a manly look to it, and you know that underneath that hood is a lot of power. Here it is, 21st century with the old styling of the past. So these taillights, I love how they make them look like the older taillights from the 1960s, but they have a 21st century flavor. And what I'm going to show you in a little bit is that when you turn on the turn signal, they light up one at a time, just like they did back in the 60s. All right, keeping our focus on the rear end of this car, I know a lot of you, when you saw it, you probably were like, that spoiler doesn't look right on that Mustang. I'm standing here now, and part of the performance pack is this rear wing. This wing is perfect. If you look at Camaros, the Camaro SS has a wing on it. It looks like it's from the 1980s. This wing has that 21st century flair, and what's amazing is that it's functional. That's the things you want to see. If you're an enthusiast, you don't just want to have them stick things on the car that are there just for show and no go. This is going to provide downforce, because remember, this is a rear-wheel drive car, a lot of power. You want to get the power to the ground, and it's things like that that's going to help you get power to the ground. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to look under the hood of this 460 horsepower Mustang GT. Let's go check it out. Alright guys, we're underneath the hood of this 2018 Mustang, and here's the heart of the beast. This is that 5-liter, 460 horsepower. If you're comparing numbers, guess what? Stock for stock, that's more horsepower than your standard Camaro SS. And that's where Ford is doing their homework. Now, what I really love about this engine compartment is that they really cleaned it up by putting this cover. Now, some of these covers could work the wrong way. You know, too much plastic, not enough engine. There's a lot of wiring, you know, there's a lot of hoses and whatnot. This cover that they put, it's actually stylish. It's got that 5-liter displacement, and it's also got the powered by Ford. If you go back to the old 1960s, the race cars, they all said powered by Ford. And that's what I like. I keep saying it shows the future, but it also keeps the past. Now, because this is a performance pack, one thing that I want to point out on this particular car is this huge strut tower brace. This brace is specific to a car option with that performance package. What this brace is going to do is it's going to actually stiffen up the front end business of the car. So you go to take it to a track day, you go to do an autocross event, it stops that body roll, because what you're doing is you're structurally stiffening the front end of the car. This is one shock tower mount, that's the other shock tower mount. By connecting this brace there, you're stiffening it out so that you're not going to get a lot of body flex out of it. It's the engineers that are doing the work like this that are making these cars so great. Another thing that's great about this engine, this thing screams to 7,500 RPM. You heard that right. You go drive your Camaro, it's not going to do that. You go drive a Dodge Challenger, it's not going to do that. One thing that's unique about the 5-liter engine in the Mustang GT is that it's a quad cam engine. What that means is it has 4 camshafts. 2 on this side of the engine, 2 on that other side. What that allows is the engine to be able to spin more freely at the higher RPMs. And that's what allows you to produce so much great power and torque and have so much driver usability. Before I fire up this animal, I want to point out one last thing. Underneath here, what these little cutouts are for is to get the heat from the engine compartment out. I showed you at the beginning of the video, those heat extractors. This proves that they're functional. They're not just for looks. And that's what I really love about this. So let's go ahead and fire up this 2018 Mustang GT. All right, guys, we're inside this Mustang, and I'm telling you, like I said earlier, if you have not been inside a late model Mustang, Ford is doing some unbelievable things when it comes to not only how the interior looks, but also the quality of the materials. So as you can see, with the Performance Pack, you get these wonderful, fully leathered seats. You get this awesome leather wrap steering wheel, and guess what? This car was optioned the way that I would do it, and the way that I know a lot of you would do it. We have our 6-speed manual transmission. It's so rare that companies are still giving people the option, but guess what? This makes it a true driver's car. This makes it a true enthusiast car. And to be honest with you, I love this 6-speed gearbox. It locks in very nicely into each gear. It's very, very short throws. Remember, Performance Pack, you want that performance. It's got the different rear end in the back. So what that means is it's going to give you quicker acceleration. And yes, an automatic will probably outshift a human, but there's just nothing like rowing through your gears. And I'm really, really loving not only the feel of it, but also just the way that it's very mechanical and very crisp. The engineers did their homework, because when you're behind the wheel of this car, you want to feel like you're part of it. You don't want to feel a lot of slop in the steering wheel. You don't want to feel a lot of slop in the shifter. Behind the wheel of this car, you really feel like you are one with it, and I really like the direction they're going in. Let's go ahead and focus on the dash here. If you look at this dash, if you had an older Mustang, you might say, hey, that looks familiar. Well, guess what? You're right, it should. The engineers have taken the old look of the 60s Mustangs and put the flavor on it. If you looked at any of my other videos, one thing I like to see in a lot of cars is I like to see extra gauges. With this car, you're getting an oil pressure gauge, which is very important, and you're also getting vacuum pressure. So that allows you to know what's going on with the car. And the styling of it, it has that 21st century flair with the styling from the past. I'm gonna keep saying it throughout this whole video. They did one hell of a job. Now, here's a little bit of a controversial part. Some people love these switches, some people hate the switches. These switches activate different things like your hazards, your traction control, the different modes. This car has a ton of different driving modes. Some people say it looks cheap and chintzy. I like it. I think it gives the car that extra personality. It makes you feel like you're in an old P-51 Mustang airplane, and it just adds to the extra experience that separates you from the run-of-the-mill cars that are available on the market. So let's go ahead and take a look at something very special for 2018, the dash. All right, guys, we're inside the 2018 Mustang GT, and like I was saying before, if you have a 2015 Mustang or a 2016 or even a 2017, they've made some major changes in this car, and this is one of them right in front of your very eyes. You have a full digital dash in this premium option GT. What's really cool is, what I love about it is that it has the old style tach and speedometer. It's just done digital for you. If you notice in the center though, what that's showing is a G-force meter. When you're doing a track day or you're doing an autocross event, that's gonna measure how many G's you're taking in the turns, accelerating, and also braking, and it's gonna let you know how much and what direction. So it's features like this that makes this car an enthusiast car. What I want to show you next is something that the engineers have been working on the past couple years. This car comes with a ton of different driving modes. And what I really love about it, when you change a mode, it actually changes the display. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and hit the mode select button, and that is automatically going to bring up the icon, and we're going to go into Sport Plus. Once you go into Sport Plus, you'll notice you still have your regular standard speedometer, but now the tachometer is a wraparound style. It has a nice look to it, and you could see when I press on the gas how it lights up. I really like that feature. Once you go to Sport Plus, the next level is going to be track mode. So we select track. Now check it out. Your tachometer is directly across the top of the display. It shows your RPM. And what's nice is that it gives you a quick visual. If you need to look down and see what kind of RPM you're turning, in track mode, it's going to show that very easily right there front and center. This also has drag strip mode. Very similar. What the drag strip mode allows you to do is to use what's called line lock, where you could actually lock the front wheels so that you could do your burnout in the water box or right before you launch from that Christmas tree. And it's these different things that I keep saying that make this car stand out. It gives you a variety of different ways to personalize the car just for you. So let's go ahead and take this car for a spin. All right, guys, we're inside the 2018 Mustang GT, and I'm about to fire it up, and I'm going to take you guys for a little spin. Here we go. Immediately, as soon as you hit that button, you get that nice crackle and pop from the exhaust. It lets you know that you're in something a little bit more special than your run-of-the-mill Mustang. As you can see, I really like what they're doing with the dash again. We focused on all those different features, the different modes. Now it's time to see what is that experience, because that's what this car is about. Yeah, it's nice to look at. Yeah, you're going to get people drooling over it and whatnot, but it's the experience when you're behind the wheel for you, the driver, that makes this car really a true Mustang. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Nice 6-speed manual transmission, nice crisp engagement. The clutch is really light. I like what the engineers are doing with the clutch. It's not a really heavy clutch like a lot of traditional V8s. It's very light and it's easy to modulate. Because I know a lot of you are like, oh well, you know, I'm driving every day. I'm driving every day to work. I'm sitting in traffic. It's going to wear out my leg. This clutch is really feather light. If you watched any of my other videos about my Ford Focus RS or some of the other cars that I've driven, those cars have really light clutches. This GT with this 460 horsepower V8 has the same exact feel. Very, very smooth. I'm really liking what Ford is doing with the Mustang and the 6-speed transmission in this car. All right, so here we go. Nice and smooth out of Walker Ford. First gear. I don't know if you heard that click. Like I said, it's a wonderful mechanical feel from this 6-speed transmission. The throws are so short and crisp. You know where each one is without even having to look. And that's the important part. That's what you want, because when you're driving, you need to be focused on where you're going, especially if you're doing a track day or you're at an autocross event. But you could hear that nice rumble. It's really nice and throaty, but not too obnoxious to where you're going to piss everybody off in your neighborhood. The torque delivery is really smooth in this car, and that's what you're going to get with the 5-liter Coyote engine, 460 horsepower. It's going to be a different feel than if you go down to Chevrolet and drive a Camaro, or go over to Dodge and buy a Challenger, because guess what? They're using older technology. Those engines still have push rods. That's the old way of doing it. This thing has those quad cams, like I was telling you. Here we are. I'm going to give it a little bit of gas just to give you the feel. Just nice and smooth power. And it's almost like in a way, Ford is giving you that Shelby GT 350 performance without the Shelby GT 350 price. And I really like that. It's nice to have options. All right, guys, I'm gonna shut my mouth and just let the car do the talking. If you have not had a chance to get behind the wheel on one of these, I highly recommend it. And if you live in Clearwater, Florida, please come down to Walker Ford. They will be more than happy to show you just how great of a vehicle this is, and they will make you feel like part of the Walker family. All right, guys, what a day it's been. I'm so happy that I've been able to bring this 2018 Mustang GT for you guys to see what are the changes, what did they do, how is it like the past, and where are we going. I want to definitely give a big shout out to Walker Ford. If you're in the Clearwater, Florida area, that Tampa Bay area, you definitely want to come to Walker Ford for all of your Ford needs. They will treat you like family here. I want to give a big, huge thank you to my cameraman, Tom Moschner, and also my bodyguard today, keeping the people back, Chris Frank. Without them, this video would have been 20 times harder to shoot. But as you can see, this Mustang GT finished in this orange Fury metallic paint, it's worth it. If you have an older Mustang, a 2015, 2005, a 99, whatever, it is well worth it to come and take a look at this and maybe drive it home. Like always though, thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. If you have a ride that you would like to see featured on Raity's Rides, leave me a comment. Go visit my website, raitysrides.com. Send me an email from there. I'll be more than happy to host your car right here on Raity's Rides. And just like always, I'll see you on the next ride.